Good morning, friends. Today is Teachers' Day, and what will be the best suitable day for giving some online session? So today I thought about let's give one session on design thinking. So just about myself, I'm director of Simcon Infotech. I have 21 plus years of experience in software industry. I did my PMP in 2012, and recently I did IBM Enterprise Design Thinking Practitioner course. I'm volunteer as a senior PMI champion for spreading project management knowledge and awareness. Throughout my career, I have track record of 99% on-time delivery. Each time, on time, every time is my uh, slogan. Today's agenda will be what is design thinking, why you need design thinking, and how we can achieve design thinking culture in our organization and in our life. This is a famous slogan I like. We can't solve problem by using the same kind of thinking we use when we created them. So we need to learn something new. We need to try something new to solve the problem. Okay, why design thinking? Can you think of what is common in these companies? IBM, Johnson and Johnson, Kellogg's, Boeing. Are they from same domain? No. Are they from same region? No. So one thing common is that these companies are part of Fortune 500 companies in 1955, and today in 2019 or even 2020 they're still in Fortune 500 companies. But this is not true for all the companies. 90% of those companies who were part of Fortune 500 in 1955 are not there today. They are either bankrupt or merge with other companies or disappear from the list. So what are the lessons learned from this? That today's strength might be tomorrow's weakness. You might be thinking that I am quite good in competition and I did not to innovate. I did not to try something new. But that will not work. Competitive advantage has limitations. Thinking that end user will come to me and give their opinion that I have this problem and then you work in reactive way will not work. Other companies will solve the problem and they will take over. So that is why we need something different. This is another example. You can see this blade based razor. Maybe you or your father might be using that. Four-piece razor, you need to have separate blade and you need to fit this and then use it. And now that is covered by this twin or triple uh, ready to use razors or use and throw razors. Or this famous example of roll based cameras. You need to purchase additional roll fitted that you need to be conscious while taking photograph that whether we should use it or not because you have the limited number of photos like 36 compared to that this digital cameras where you capture hundreds of photos and then you delete it based on your requirement. So this type of products remove that old products or old mindset from market. Why? Again, they thought about what are end users problem and how we can solve it. Here's some of the recent examples. So during this COVID lockdown, normal milkmen solve the problem of social distancing. So they do some type of jugaad, people say, but this is also one type of design thinking. And this is another example of one bank where they put credit card and debit card in a single card, you might be facing this issue of having too much of card and you cannot sit properly after putting wallet in your pocket. And this can solve little bit of issues because your one card covered two purpose. So this is something different, something you think about end user. This is one another good example of Sweden metro station. So their problem statement is like this accelerator becomes too much crowded and all people are using that and nobody is using staircase. Even though they are youngsters, they can do. So people who really need this accelerator like senior citizens could not use it. They solved this problem quite interestingly. What they did is like you can see that create a piano pattern on the staircase and it is not just color. When you climb on that, it also puts some nice noise or nice music you can say, and people feel interesting, they want to try it, and that solve the problem of keeping accelerator free whoever need it. All youngsters, all whoever can claim that they can go with the staircase started using this instead of using accelerator. So very nice and innovative way of thinking differently and thinking about end user. Okay, let's go a little bit basics like what is product. So product definition itself cover that it involves users and customer on one side and company on other side. It addresses a problem or provides a benefit to the group of people. And on the another side, company generate revenue. It helps to sell another product or service or some other objective. If they're giving free, there might be have some other business objective to achieve. But main point is it should address problem of end user, who is your customer. And what is innovation? Very basic definition. It should be intersection of business viability, people desirability, and technical feasibility. You should cover all these three in innovation and then only it will be fruitful. If you don't think about people, it can be functional innovation, but it will not be successful. Or on that side, like if you skip any of these things, it will not be a proper product which achieve your both the objective like company and people. So people are important uh, factor stakeholder for any innovation. So again, like going for basic definition of design thinking. So design thinking is mainly used, especially helpful for solving wicked problems. It includes some of the factors like it should be human centered, there should be a mindfulness of processes, it is all about showing and not telling, so prototyping come into picture, it is biased towards action, you need to act, it requires collaboration between diversified team, it has culture of prototyping. So we'll see all in detail in next slides. 3 is about design thinking. So it is all about empathy, expansive thinking, and experimentation. Okay. So what is empathy? We'll cover in detail, but mainly you need to think about end user over here. In expansive thinking, you need to think broadly about problem. You need to think about telescope view instead of microscopic view, and you need to experiment it like prototyping and see it, feel it instead of just talking about that. Okay, so now we'll go with big picture of design thinking, sort of workflow, what will be covered in design thinking. First is empathize. Okay, so now let's start with how part of design thinking. This is a big picture and this is a continuous flow, and there will be 5 steps in design thinking. First is emphasize. Again, users are quite important. So you empathize with your end user, you understand their problem. Second part is define. You figuring out their problem. You put your requirement on the paper, mainly problem statement. Third is ideate. Start generating idea based on what you learn from these two. Fourth is prototyping. Start creating testable object as a prototype which you can test. Fifth is test. You identify your problem, test it, identify mistake, go back to these stages in loop until this product is nice to go to the market. Okay. So before we go to this slide, I would like you to think in background whatever wicked problem you might face recently or you might be facing at present. I don't believe like anybody will be like that who never face any problem in their life. So if you think in background your current problem, it will be quite good to understand. So all these 5 stages you need to go in mind, that how I can put my problem definition in these stages and how I can solve it using design thinking approach. Now here I'm looking for one real life story which I come to know recently, and I know this is not a product, this is something like a process or something like a people issue, but I like to take this story as an example because I think everybody can relate this in current scenario. I will also give a couple of other examples later on. So first is so all throughout these 5 stages I will keep on giving this problem, how this flow with the design thinking approach. So in current COVID-19 situation, all IT companies are working from home still, like, and earlier like during lockdown, all other companies were also working from home. So this is a story about one IT company I know, and there was one fine day, like suddenly there is a declaration came that we will be working from office just from next Monday, like next week. Why? Not known except management. Department manager agreed this half-heartedly, and end users are not ready to take this risk. So this is a current situation, and I will flow the story along with design thinking, how they go through design thinking and solve the problem. So first stage of design thinking, emphasize. Okay, now in this lockdown, like how many of you uh, work in kitchen with your better half? Mainly for male candidate, male watchers. Uh, I hope like most of you might work in kitchen, in cleaning or helping your better half. Now, did you change your thinking about your work, about your better half work after that experience, right? Because earlier you might be thinking that working in kitchen or cleaning your kitchen or like cooking might be quite easier than your job, but once you do it yourself you observe that it is not that easy. So you might learn something out of that, and that is what is emphasizing. So you need to understand user's problem, and for that you need to put yourself in shoes of end user. You need to emotionally attach with that subject, and you need to remove your bias and assumptions to emphasize. And for that you need to ask question. First of all, who is actual end user for your product, for your services, and what is their problem? Why they want to use or not use the current process? What change they are looking for in the current process? What difficulties they are facing? So there are some tools we can use for emphasizing. So one is, you can say, research. If your design thinking uh, audience is not approachable, you cannot go with that. You might need to research about that. But best thing is you do interview or you do shadowing. Shadowing means let that user work where they are working. You sit or stand behind them and observe. And in current situation, you may be like do video calling and observe their current working. If your audience is quite large, your end user is quite large, you might need to survey. There can be other tools like documentary and journals. Body language is quite important thing in empathy because sometimes people don't say what they feel. So you need to observe the body language. Your emphasizing should be qualitative and quantitative both. You should not just think about one factor out of your empathize which is most important. You need to have quantitative items also which you might feel it is not that important but it might be important. You need to collect lots of data out of this phase. You need to have think about feelings and needs, and you need to identify problem and pain points of your end user. Again, drop all your assumptions and think in broader perspective. Okay, go back to my story of the company, IT company, you remember? So what happened after that stage is immediately management need to declare that okay, let's postpone that idea of working from Monday, but let's have a meeting. So there was a meeting with employees, there was a meeting with management, and we come up with some empathy map out of that. So this is empathy map is one of the tools which design thinking uses, where you need to have ideally face-to-face or video call meeting with end user or most of the representative of the end user, and you need to observe what they think and feel, what they hear, what they say and do, and what they see. You also need to identify their pain points and what their gains. Yeah. From that experience of working from home, like they have some gain, like there is a safety from COVID-19, obviously, and they save something for transportation. Pain points they are thinking is like because of such declaration, they're thinking like there is no trust from management. They're facing some issues of hardware and internet that comes out of this meeting. They're not having enough money to purchase new laptops or new devices if they are quite low salary people. We also see that we are ready to work from home if management wants to take that risk, ready from office. So they have readiness of working from office, but they have some concern. They also think that company don't care about employee due to this declaration, so that is impacting motivation. They're working from home, work fine, so this is their thinking that everything is going fine, so why to go and take risk? But nobody communicated what are the problems, so both sides are working in their separate isolation. They're also saying that other companies are giving facilities for working from home, and they're hearing that their is productivity is low, and other companies declare that working from home till 2021. So this is all about the empathy map observed from the employees, and there is separate thing from management also, but we need not to cover that. Okay, so after your empathy phase, next phase is define. You need to define your problem statement. You need to define your key element you understand from your target users. And here the construction should be point of view based on user need, should not be like business need. You need to redefine and focus on user base input, what you get in empathy. And what questions should ask, what are insight we can use from empathize. Okay, so there are a couple of example what was a problem statement before your empathizing phase or without going for design thinking, and how it changed after design thinking. So you can see that we need to increase our food product market share among young teenagers by 5%. This was a problem statement by one company. But after they think about people and empathize, their problem statement changed. The teenager needs to eat nutritious food in order to thrive, be healthy, and grow. So if you change your problem statement like this, you are targeting that teenagers should eat this type of food. You are putting market awareness, so you are increasing overall market, and that automatically achieve your target not only by 5% but even more. Second example is like how can we keep our local economy going in COVID-19? Yeah, every country is thinking about that, whether there should be lockdown or no lockdown. So instead of just thinking about economy, your problem statement, if you think about people's angle, should be how can we keep our local economy most healthy in the long term, not short term decision, with minimal loss of life. Think about people and the life and livelihood also, because they cannot remain hungry and they should not die with hunger in our community and even our neighbors community, neighbors country. If you think about state angle like other state, so you need to think about all perspective in design thinking. If we go back to our real story, earlier problem statement was let's start working from office as working from home has some technological issues and background noise. So this is what again we learn from management. The main reason of that decision is technological issue and background noise. But when we empathize with end user, our problem statement changes that how employee can continue working from home with proper safety, because safety is our utmost concern about for the company, and still they collaborate with customer or even the colleagues, without any technological issues and even background noise. So whole objective changes that there should be proper safety, but they should achieve their goal without sacrificing their safety. To get the point, like how empathize and define change your problem statement. Okay, let's go to next stage, third stage after empathize and define, ideate, all about ideas. You need to brainstorm a range of crazy and creative ideas which you get from define stage. So again, remember, not microscopic view. Don't think about only one way. They just go for office and then only you achieve your better environment. No, think about broader ideas and start generating multiple ideas. Yeah, you encourage people to give lots of ideas. You need to think out of box, beyond your rational thinking for those ideas. You need to do broad search for the solution, and there are some tools which people use. So one is brainstorming, one is brainwriting, and one is camper. Again, people who may not know about this camper, it is acronym. It includes substitute your ideas, combine your ideas, adapt that idea, modify that idea. That idea may not be viable, it may not be like thought properly or give it properly. You may need to modify it, but it has values. Put it another use. Some ideas might not be useful for this purpose, but it might be fantastic idea for other purpose. You may need to eliminate some of the ideas. There might be some crazy ideas. You might to even reverse those ideas. So this is something like you can put in Ideate stage as a tools and technique. Again, we go back to a real life story of Ideate phase. So some of the list of ideas come up with, like give high quality headphone and earphone to the users who has some noise problem, or who might be working directly from laptop mic, so there might be like possibility of capturing noise. Create SOP for employees to know their expectation. You remember, like they might be thinking that everything is going smooth, but other angle might be from management that there are some issues. So it is better to know that what are standard operating procedures, what are the expectations from the management. Management can purchase and give 40 Mbps line to each employees to solve the network issues, each or like whoever is needed. So this is another idea came up. Again, a good idea because we observed in our mind map or like empathy map that some of the employees cannot afford to purchase those type of subscription, having low salaries. Some of the another crazy idea like give free stay to the employee nearby hotel. Again, might be useful like if employees are staying in PG and cannot come back. Rent some house and for some keep employees who are outside of city, and keep the employees on that who has issues like in staying in PG. Another good idea, might be costly for management, but this has some values required that type of actions. Or even like last stage of ideas like rent a cab for pickup and drop from and to the office for selected employees who don't have any option out of that, like who cannot work from office, there is no internet availability, there from remote areas, there are some power issues, but they cannot come to the office because they don't have private vehicles. So for safety we can have that cab or something like that. So there are many ideas in that stage, but like these are the some top 6 idea I kept over here which are shortlisted. And out of that also, like we may put or pick some of the ideas for next stage to experiment. Okay, so this is the fourth stage of design thinking, which is prototyping. Here you need to take idea you want to develop. So you need to pick some of the ideas, not all the ideas at a time, but topmost ideas you can say, and turn them into testable physical objects. It can be anything like role-playing activity, maybe an object, maybe a model, like if there is a bridge or there is some like construction industry, model is the best thing for prototyping. An interface or clickable UI, widely used in IT products, or even a storyboard, like good requirement with storytelling techniques. Mainly, this helps to solve disagreement with the user and start conversation with the user. Once you put something on their hand, once you put something on paper or like as an object which is testable, they will start talking. They will start giving their inputs or detailed inputs which they may not even give in first empathy phase. So this is quite helpful to have prototyping. Continue solving, continue solution building process by this prototyping, because you need to keep on improving that prototype, and this will give you fail fast option, because some of the ideas may not be practical. You might think something differently compared to user. So if you just do prototyping quickly and give it to end user for testing, it will help to fail fast and learn fast. Okay, so in our current example, we picked some of the ideas and we did some sampling. So we just have a draft SOP created and given to like some set of right expectation to the team, and that is given to some selected employees to test with, because we are not circulating this to whole company. So this is what they option they tried. Second stage is identify some of the employees who needs that better headphone, who has some noise issues. So that is again some sampling done and given some of the hardwares to them. Again, couple of employees are identified who has an internet issues and given the solution to them. Again, not whole company wide approach, but sampling, because this is prototyping. Given some WebEx account or any like online accounts to allow them phone instead of internet, like many uh, online collaboration tools doesn't allow you to call directly using phone, mainly from India numbers. So uh, WebEx or such tool will allow you to call from phone, so that will help if you don't have stable internet. So that is another example which come during prototyping stage. So this is last and fifth stage of design thinking. Again, like you see that you need to test your prototype, you need to take your inputs from Ideate and prototype stage, and you need to tick like these ideas are covered or not, whether that solve that user's problem or not, which you learn from empathize phase. So it is just like trial run or pilot. You may need to redefine the problem out of this. You may need to rework on your solution, because whatever you develop in prototype may not be solving actual problem. Keep on doing this till you get final go ahead for implementation. So this is what about test phase. And what we did in test phase is like we circulated that SOP, internet or headphone, which we finalize in idea, and let employee work for 2 weeks with those new options. Manager and seniors observe earlier issue like noise and disconnection, throughout these 2 weeks, and we collected feedback after 2 weeks for what are the improvements, what more changes you need even after implementing these ideas. So this is it. All 5 phases are covered: empathizing, define, ideate, prototyping, and test. And this is interesting thing of looping we learn. So it is not something like 1 to 5 and you are done. It is keep on looping. You can go from any stage to any stage. From testing, you may need to go back to define stage because your problem definition is not proper. Or from prototyping, you might need to go for ideate stage, that you might need to redefine your idea or like have some new ideas. Or you may again go back to end user for empathizing phase, that go back to end user and learn what are their actual problems, because we are thinking this is not a problem after your testing phase. They may give actual idea on second stage. So this is all beauty of design thinking, that it is not simple one way workflow. It can and it will definitely go back to earlier stages till it gets mature. So after this 5 stages, like this is again another important point of design thinking, that is personas. Personas is fictional character designers generally use to reflect user typing and pinpointing who they are, what they do with the product, but in relevant to your context. It should not be something like what they do uh, like in their day-to-day life, but it is should be relevant to context, to your problem statement you are resolving or product you are planning to develop. It helps to understand user characteristic, what are their needs and what are their goals. You need to include all your stakeholders to accept and review these personas. Whatever personas you create, it should not be reviewed just by one person. All your stakeholders should be involved in this persona. Again, you need to be clear that there is a difference in UX persona and marketing persona. Both are personas is combination of multiple roles. You cannot create separate persona for each and every person or each and every role, because then you will have too many personas and you will get confused. Because if you try to fulfill requirement of each and every persona, you might be doing injustice for persona who is 80 to 90% stakeholder of this product or for this problem. So you may need to understand what is common between persona and combine those roles in a single persona. For one persona, you need to at least talk with 5 users. You cannot only talk with one user and identify their characteristic to define persona, otherwise it will be biased. Personal data is quite important in persona so that team can empathize with. You may need to create empathy map and even paste in a place where day to day people can see that persona so they can empathize with. Again, people are changing, they are agile, they are keep on learning new things. So persona's life is typically 1 year. You may need to create persona again, redefine that every year if this is long-term process. You need to describe several situation and scenario, prompting that persona to use your product. You should not be focused on just one context, one scenario. Then you will come out with lots of things. You need to put him or her in context with problem to overcome, because you just keep on talking with person to get their details, and you, if you don't put in that context of problem, you might get too many inputs but it may not be relevant to your current problem. So you need to identify that. Okay, this is persona example I got uh, from web, but this is not just one example. You may have different type of layout, different type of content, but generally it contain a photo, generally contain photo. So generally cartoon characters people use, but I don't recommend that. We can use actual photo if possible, so that people can empathize it more. There can be some quote, some high level summarized detail, some biography about person, behavior of that person, goals, what they want to achieve in the context, what are their pain points in their current daily scenarios, what they want to overcome. People can also put some personality things, like what type of personality they are, like whether they are creative, whether they are extrovert or introvert. Again, that is helpful. If you want to empathize with, you may need to know which type of people you are dealing with, and that will help. You may also need to think what motivates, what are the motivation factor. So this type of factors are useful in your persona map. So after this like 5 stages and personas, we can think about tools and technique quickly. Again, this is an introductory session, so we are not going in details about each tools and technique. There are 15 to 20 tools people can use, but let's go for some high level tools and technique. Okay, so after 5 stages of design thinking and personas, let's introduce to some of the tools and technique we utilize in design thinking. There are many tools and technique, but we'll glimpse to some of the tools and technique today. Uh, First tools, you can see that assumptions and questions. Not everyone knows the same thing, right? So we need to come out with like what all assumptions people have, so that we can solve that assumptions or go back to end user and get it resolved. And whatever questions people have, so that also we can resolve. For that, we need to go to the whiteboard and have a sticky note, and people can put their assumption and question on that. And then one person who is leading this initiative will go back to whiteboard and try to resolve all the question. Second is stakeholder map, because it is important to know who all are your stakeholders. So you can ask people to put stakeholders on a whiteboard again, and people can then group that stakeholder in particular roles. So as we explained, like personas, they try to get together those roles as the personas. Third is hope and fear. So end user might have like multiple hopes and fears in their mind, and it is very good tool to take out those hopes and fears, so we can get all the clarity. So here, like as we say, like people cannot come up front and give the details, but if there is such tool which is anonymous, people can paste their details on board, and then we can go through that, and we can try to categorize that. Another important tool we already see is the empathy map, which we use for our real life story. So again, like that covers like what people say upfront, what they thinks in back of the mind, what they actually do, and what they feel inside. So that is what we need to take out after empathy phase. One another thing is prioritization grid. So here if you see on x-axis you have feasibility for the team, and on y-axis it what is the value for the end user. So if any change, any idea which has a higher value to the end user, it should take as a no barrier. So we should take it right away, and then we can take as a big bets where we have both value and feasibility in a positive state. But if there is a low feasibility and low value, it is obviously unwise. So we should try to ignore those ideas. So that will help you to like quickly prioritize your ideas. Now you can say like how we can collaborate, because all the ideas we are talking about is coming to the whiteboard, and then like people are collaborating together, put a sticky note on the board. So that is something which require on-premise things. But if you want to like go for collaboration across the internet, so there are some of the tools available. One tool which I learned recently is a Miro board. So this is a small video which allow you to see how this Miro board allow you to collaborate. It has some free versions available, free subscription available, and multiple people can work together on a very wide whiteboard type of thing, and people can use sticky notes and objects and text to collaborate with each other. So this is very nice tool. Like please listen to this couple of minute video.
Miro comes to life while working alongside other users. When collaborators join, you can see their cursors moving throughout the board and the different actions they're taking in real time. It truly feels like you're working in the same room. Let's explore how collaboration works in some more detail, starting with real-time collaboration. When someone is on a board with you, their avatar will be shown at the top of your screen, and if you click it, you'll be taken to their current location. Use this to quickly find other users on the board. Right next to the list of avatars is the option to toggle collaborators' cursors. You can turn cursors off when there are a lot of participants or when you really want to focus on the content. As a final comment on real-time collaboration, the timer, video chat, voting, and presentation mode can take your meetings and workshops to the next level. So be sure to check those tools out when you have some time. Moving on, there are some great features to help you work asynchronously as well. The comment tool allows you to have discussions and gather feedback and approvals in the midst of a board's content. You can mention a specific user, the board's members, the project's members, and even the whole team. Notifications will go out via email and via messengers like Slack or MS Teams. When you or your colleagues check a board where changes have been made, those changes will be highlighted for you, so you'll know where to focus. As our last topic, we'll cover exporting so you can collaborate outside of Miro when necessary. The image export allows you to select any portion of the board and choose the quality level you'd like. It's great for adding diagrams or plans to documents. The second exporting option produces a PDF. It works by making each frame in a board a page in the PDF. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
So yeah, just ending to this, like there are some reference which I use for this. So one of the session from Mr. Asutosh and IBM course of design thinking, some of the YouTube videos from Mr. Jonathan, and some of the learning I get from PMI champions, fellow champions Suman and Amrita. So just like to thank to them. So this is end of today's design thinking session. If you like this video and if you want to explore this type of videos in future, please subscribe this channel and put your comments in this video. I will get back to you similar session in future.